Hey everybody, this is James Wilson with JSW Properties. Today we're going to be talking a little bit about selling your house on a lease option. So the problem is you have a house that you don't want and you would no longer like to own this house. Whether it's a divorce, whether you have a job move and you don't want two mortgages, whether you just don't want to be a landlord anymore, or you have inherited a house and you have no use for it because you already have one and you just want to sell it. So you have this house you don't want anymore, but for a number of reasons, just the traditional route is not going to work for you. There's a lot of competition out there. There's foreclosures, there's short sales, there's other people that are starting to get desperate to sell their house because time on market is taking a long time, 3, 4, 5, 6 months, and you just don't really want to go through that. And there's a smaller pool of qualified buyers than there were 7 years ago. 6 or 7 years ago, you could basically walk into a mortgage broker and say, I want a loan, and you could walk out with one in 2 or 3 days. That's just not going to happen anymore. These days, it's taken 30 to 45 plus days to get a mortgage loan, and that's 2 or 3 mortgage payments for you as a homeowner. So as a result of all this, today's sales are a function of price or terms or both. Maybe you have to cut your price by 10 or 15%, or you're throwing in some concessions to the buyer. You're giving them something like appliances or a warranty, or it's some sort of combination of both of those. So let's just kind of walk through the numbers for a second to see what the difference between a traditional route and a lease option is going to look like. So for our examples, we're going to use a house that has a full market value of $200,000. And we're going to say that there's a discount applied to that final sales price, whether that's initially when you list it or through negotiations, but let's say that finally 10% is taken off of this house. For that full $200,000, there's going to be a 6% commission, which is $12,000 in this example. It is a little high since we're finally going to sell it for $180,000, but we'll just use 12 just to make the numbers easy. Closing costs for you as a seller is going to be a couple $1,000s. And we're going to say that there's some concessions. Maybe you're paying all of their closing costs, which are $3,000 to $4,000. Maybe you're also throwing in a home warranty and some appliances because they're fairly aggressive negotiators. So, worst case scenario, we'll say that your gross from the sale of this home is $158,000. Play with these numbers a little bit; they might move up to 165, maybe even 170 if you're really lucky. But we'll just say, $158,000, $160,000 for this example. So that presents a problem for some people. What if you bought this house 5 years ago and you owe more than that $160,000? What are you going to do? Well, the answer for you is going to be a lease option. I'll show you how that works. So first, the numbers. Again, same $200,000 house, but this time there's going to be no discount, and we'll talk a little bit more about that in a minute. There's also going to be no commissions because usually there's no real estate agents involved. There are no closing costs. There are no concessions, again, because we're working with a little bit different buyer pool here. There is option consideration, and we'll talk a little bit more about that in a minute. So the gross, instead of that $158,000, $160,000, it's going to be $195,000, and that's going to be a huge difference for a lot of people. And that difference is going to be probably about $35,000, $36,000, quite a bit of money. So how does a lease option work? Take our $200,000 house here, and you, the homeowner. We are JSW Properties. We specialize in lease options. This is all, for the most part, that we do. So you as a homeowner, there's going to be a master lease agreement that we will sign with you. There's an option agreement saying at what price you are willing to sell this house. There's a purchase and sale agreement just to formalize the sales price of that option agreement. So once we have all this paperwork in place with you, that's all you need to do at this point. We will then go out and find a tenant buyer. Tenant buyers are going to be a little bit different from your normal buyers right now. These are going to be people that for whatever reason can't get a mortgage loan right now, but should be able to within 12 or 24 months. Whether they're having some credit issues that need to get cleaned up, whether they just started a new job and they don't have enough time in that job for a bank to approve them, whether they just started their own business and they don't have 2 years of tax returns, maybe they just went through a divorce or there's some other thing going on in their personal life that the bank has looked at them and said, I don't like them. So for whatever reason, they can't get a traditional loan right now, but a year to 2 years from now, between their issues getting resolved and maybe bank lending standards loosening a little bit, they should be able to get a loan. So we're going to sign these same agreements with them. There's going to be a lease agreement. So how long do they plan on renting the house before they end up buying it? Is it going to be 12 months, 24 months? We typically aim for a 12-month agreement, the option agreement. At what price are they going to buy this house to? And with that option agreement comes that option consideration money. They put that money, that is the price that they paid for that option agreement. And then a purchase and sale agreement, again, a formal document saying, hey, we plan on buying this house. So they begin to make regular on-time rent payments. Those rent payments pay for the mortgage on the house, and as soon as they buy the house, you, the homeowner, are cashed out. Problem solved. So that's all well and good, but how do you get your money? So again, we usually try to have a 12-month time frame. So the tenant buyer is going to put up that option consideration towards the purchase price, typically 2 or 3%, and 100% of that is applied towards the purchase. So instead of like a normal down payment, they're going to put up an option consideration money, and this gives them a little skin in the game, so to speak. And then every month that they make an on-time payment, we typically apply a couple $100 towards the purchase price. You know, we give them some sort of option credit, and this helps as an incentive for the tenant buyer to make that monthly payment on time and establish a good payment history that we can then take to the bank and say, hey, they've made 12 payments, 18 payments, 24 payments on time, they're ready to be a homeowner. So in 12 months' time, this tenant buyer has accrued $7,400 towards the purchase of the house. Now this is all going to be used towards closing costs, towards down payment, etc., so that you don't have to make all those concessions, that you're not paying all of those closing costs when you sell your house. So they will then go out and instead of paying a traditional mortgage and formally buy that house from you, the seller, and then you're cashed out and you no longer have this house to worry about. So how do you get started? Give us a call today, 360-207-4058, or you can visit our website at www.jsw-properties.com. Thanks.